Greetings to all from Dr. J. Anil Premraj, Assistant Professor, Senior, VIT University. I'm happy to be part of this program being conducted by GDC Codur, a certificate program on soft skills. And I thank the principal, Dr. Srilata Madam, and also the faculty of English, Dr. Asha Lata Madam, for giving me an opportunity to part of this team. So, the topic that we are going to deal today is problem solving skills. Humanity has faced many problems and is facing many problems. Problems continue to exist, or problems are part of human endeavors. Problems continue to be carried on from generation to generation, and problems never cease to exist in human life. Whether you have faith, or you believe in faith, or you believe in science, since the beginning of humanity, that is, since creation, we all believe that God created us in His form. So, or if you believe in the evolution of theory of Darwin's evolution, man has evolved from ape, whatever may be that you believe, but since the beginning of human life, man has suffered. He has been with the problems, or he has received the problems as a curse of God for his disobedience. Now, what is a problem? According to the Cambridge Dictionary, it says that it's a situation, a person, or a thing that needs attentions and needs to be dealt with or solved off. We can say that a problem is defined as any situation or task that needs some kind of response. I would say a problem is like an obstacle or a hindrance that obstructs the progress of an individual or a group, a firm or an organization. I'm reminded of some eminent people saying about problems. A famous American philosopher, writer, he says that a problem properly stated is half solved. John Dewey, a famous American philosopher, he says that a problem properly stated is half solved. So when I read this, I am reminded of a story that all of us know. Once upon a time, there was a crow. As it was flying, it became thirsty. It couldn't find water anywhere, and so it had to search, and it found a pot of water where the quantity of water was very low at the bottom of the mug. The crow tried to put in its beak to suck the water or to drink water. And ultimately, it couldn't reach to the bottom. So it was very, very disappointing for the crow to find water and unable to drink from it. Then it got an idea. It looked around, got the pebbles, and ultimately filled the mug or pot with the pebbles, which has helped in increasing the rise of water in the beaker. Ultimately, it could reach to the level where it could drink water from the kettle. So, addressing the problem, so stating the problem properly, which gives ideas to resolve the problem, is one thing that we learn from this story. A famous American writer, speaker, and also he was the governor, and today he works as an advisor in technology to the American president Rudy Giuliani. He says that when you confront a problem, you begin to solve it. So you have to encounter the problem, whatever may be the problem. So that gives you the starting point or the beginning to solve the problem. Famous American wartime president Theodore Roosevelt also says that the problems differ from generation to generation, but the qualities needed to solve them remain unchanged from world's end to world's end. Where is this world's end? That means no. So, from one corner of the world to the other side, from east to west, and from north to south, wherever you go, you meet people, or wherever the countries are there, wherever the nations, along with its people, regardless of their caste, creed, or religion, so they would be there to with their problems. So as generations pass by, so problems, we cannot say that maybe the third generation had problems, we in the 21st generation do not have problems. So from generation to generation, problems persist, but the qualities needed to solve them remain unchanged as generations go. So we are to be mindful that these problems continue to be there as long as humanity exists. One of a famous writer, and George Polya, a mathematician, also says that it is better to solve one problem five different ways than to solve five problems in one way. It is better to solve one problem five different ways than to solve five problems one way. That means that we need to find different solutions to a particular problem. Different perspectives are to be looked at in solving a problem. So I'm not going to go into the details of the technicalities of problem solving aspects. Since you are all students, I would like to touch upon the problems of a student, be it a graduate undergraduate, postgraduate, or as a scholar, you have problems. As a matter of fact, at every age of human life, people face problems. Children have their own problems. During childhood, they face many problems: physical, social, and so on. As they grow, teenagers they face many problems. As young men they or young women they face problems. As married people they have problems. As middle-aged persons people have problems. As elderly people they have problems. As old people they have problems. So regardless of your age, people face problems. We cannot say one creed, or we cannot say one section of people, or we cannot say one group of people, regardless of caste, creed, or religion and region, people have problems. The rich have problems, the poor have problems, and we need not say about the sick. So problems continue in human life. The question is, how do you react to these problems? Are you able to face the problems? So as I was thinking about the student life, what kind of problems do students face? As I was thinking, I could come out with many problems, but I would like to label a few. The first thing that I noticed is that students have problem in maintaining honesty or truthfulness. I would give the first priority to this particular problem. Being genuine to a particular issue, being genuine to yourself, being genuine to your teachers, being genuine to your parents, being genuine true to yourself. It's a big problem for every student. The second problem that I noticed is managing one's time. Lot of time is being wasted with unnecessary engagements for a student. We know that a student's primary goal or primary engagement is to enrich himself or herself with the knowledge required to better in future. So there, students' time management is lagging behind. Thirdly, financial management. We find often many people unable to balance their life, especially the student community, the young people, unable to manage because the desires are more, but your purse is limited. So, in want of fulfilling those desires, they lose their management skills with reference to their finance. Many people, next problem that I would like to point out is in academics, unable to reach the goals that were set. You keep a goal, or you have certain goals that you have set forth, but you fail to fulfill those goals or reach their goals, though it's a problem. And we have next important problem is proper communication. Many students have lack of communication. Apart from these, when it comes to our social or societal life, people face many problems at home. There are many children who have, or many students who have problems with their parents, who have problems with their brothers or sisters, problems with the neighbors, problems with friends, problems with the neighborhood. So, in every area that I have mentioned here, I just identified 6 areas. So, in every area, we find people struggling to cope up with. There are many people who try to face these problems, but many people run away from problems. So, if you run away from the problems, will the problems resolve? Problems never resolve. Problems continue to persist. So, as people encounter or as students encounter these problems, either they surrender to the problems and then get impacted by the problems, which leads them to become depressed. The depression further leads them to ultimately take a wrong path. And we find many people, many students committing suicides or doing some crimes in order to get away or in order to resolve their problems, which is not the right thing. So, when we say that problems are everywhere, how do we encounter these problems? As I mentioned, that great leaders have pointed out that you need to face the problems, encounter the problems. Many people even don't realize that there is a problem, whatever may be the situation. So, until the climax or until one can do nothing, people don't realize there is a problem in himself or herself. So, it is very important to realize that there is a problem, and then the problem has to be addressed. So, when you look at a problem, you need to ask these WH questions, which I would say would help you to analyze the problem. So, first you need to realize the problem, and then you need to analyze the problem. How do you analyze a problem? So, when you identify the problem, you need to question the problem. You need to put a right question at the problem. So, when you question or when you need to ask a question, you use WH questions or WH words like who, why, when, what, where, how, and so on, or what if. So, when you address or when you question the problem, that would lead you to arrive at a solution. that would lead you to arrive at a solution. This is a very important aspect in one's life because nobody can run away from a problem. Or if you run away from any problem, it cannot be resolved. Problems continue to come along with you wherever you go. You, if you are in a city, or if you are in a village, or if you are in a town, if you try to hide, nothing will come or nothing will leave you. So there also you would encounter problems. So problems continue to be with you. So never think of running away from a problem. Never think of hiding from a problem. And also never think of adding a band-aid to a problem. That is covering a problem. So a problem band-aiding is when you get hurt. If there is some injury, until maybe it's like an emergency treatment, a first aid treatment, where for a temporary time, for a short period, so what we say in a technical way, it will help you to maintain the status quo of the situation if you try to cover the problem with a band-aid like solution, a temporary solution. So what happens for a temporary thing? It recurs, it repeats again because you have not addressed the problem with a permanent solution. As the mathematician said, try to look at, to resolve or arrive at a solution with different solutions so that you would be able to judge the solution which is apt for you to permanently resolve the problem. That is very important in one's life. So you need to learn to pose questions at the problem, try to arrive at the solutions, maybe more than two or more than three ways to resolve, and out of that, take a decision to choose one way that would help you to resolve the problem. So, my dear students, be mindful that problems are inevitable regardless of age. So, you cannot say that life is a bed of roses. So, we all know that life is not a bed of roses. So, there are ups and downs as time passes on. So, we will be at the higher levels where you have happiness, joy, everything is available, and suddenly the next moment you do not know whether nobody would be there permanently happy at that particular peak or higher level. So the other day you may fall down, you may be at the lowest level of your life, at the valley. So, my dear students, never fear for a problem. Problems are everywhere, problems for everyone, and problems will never cease. But problems can be dealt, problems can be resolved, people can arrive at solutions to overcome the problems. In spite of the hindrances, in spite of the obstacles. So it is not an easy way. It is not a quick way. That's another important thing. So you cannot resolve a problem in a quicker way. So it takes time. because you would be analyzing the problem. You have to analyze the problem. So it takes time. And then, as time goes on, time gives you solutions. That means you would be able to resolve the problems. And there is no immediate results or outcome. It's not like an examination that you write and ultimately get marks and pass out. So it takes some time for you to resolve a problem. Not only you, everybody, regardless of the age, as I mentioned, as children, as teenagers, as young men, or as married person, as a middle class or middle aged, and as an old man. So at every age, you experience life. Apart from your academic knowledge, life teaches you. Life gives you examples. Life helps you to grow in knowledge. As you become knowledgeable, that knowledge helps you to resolve the problems accordingly. So I'm going to focus on some of the problems that I identified for a student. How do you resolve these problems? Is a question that I would like to pose it. Can all problems be resolved? Yes. There is no problem that cannot be resolved. But the attitude of the people, in one way, I would say, the adamant nature of the people increases the conflicts. If you truly want to resolve a problem, you need to know that the adamant nature, the stubbornness that an individuals have, the attitude, that is the pride that you have, the egoistic attitude that people have should be addressed first. For any problem to be resolved, this ego, this pride and jealousy, if these are addressed first, then there is no problem that cannot be resolved. Every problem, that whether it's personal or whether it's professional, every problem that students or people face can easily be tackled, can easily be resolved, provided the change happens within. That means, first, the individual should introspect oneself or himself or herself. Maybe if it is a larger group, maybe the communities, the societies, the regions, the states, the nations, and the world at large needs to realize, introspect, that is, self examine these negativities that exist in mind or body. Because we know, unless that happens, the mindset cannot be changed. Until the mindset is not changed, no solution can be arrived at. So, my dear students, learn to realize first about that there are problems in every human being. Every individual has problems, so no human being can escape from a problem. But we as Indians are very spiritual minded people. So, what we do when we encounter problems, first we take up our problems to our God. We pray to God, especially during this pandemic time, the COVID 19 pandemic time. We know that many are suffering. Many people, our dear ones, have passed away, and many people are displaced. There are no jobs for many people. Even there are jobs, no payments, no salaries. In spite of that, we are continuing our lives with hope. That is the primary thing that we need to realize, that we live with a hope and we pray to God with the hope that these problems will be resolved at the earliest. So, time, as I said, is not in our hands, but we can plan in such a way that these problems can be faced with courage. So, I'm going to talk to you about these 6 problems that I identified, how to overcome the problems, how to arrive at a solution for the problems that we face, and how to become successful in resolving the problems and making our lives happy, though not a bed of roses. We'll continue.